through the fog of this war, a potential clear breakthrough for Moscow. Using the dense mist as cover from Ukrainian drones, a seemingly ragtag bunch of some 300 Russian soldiers have entered the town of Pokrovsk. It may not look like much, but in a conflict of small steps, this could be pivotal. The Ukrainians are still holding out to the north of the town, and the Russian advance is slow. Notice here that Kyiv soldiers are using a remote-controlled vehicle. The commander-in-chief of Ukraine's army said that these ground-based robots have helped to supply, in October alone, 300,000 kilograms of supplies to their units. Pokrovsk was once home to 60,000 people, home to the oldest university in the Donbas, now deserted and in ruins, just like most of this once bustling town. The Russians call this the gateway to Donetsk and a key stronghold. They believe they have the upper hand, but do they?
No, you can't say that they're winning. I mean, they've been at this for 3.5 years. They haven't really moved the needle in terms of territory that they occupy. Even taking Pokrovsk is not going to make that big a difference. And they certainly can't eliminate Ukraine as a state.
The front lines of this conflict have barely moved in recent years, with the Russians making minimal gains. Pokrovsk is in the Donetsk region, a key stronghold and logistics hub for the Ukrainians. After an offensive lasting more than a year, Moscow now has the town almost encircled with 150,000 troops. The Kremlin hopes that capturing the town will let them then take Kramatorsk and Sloviansk. Russia is also on the offensive further north in the Kharkiv region. Moscow claims to have taken the eastern part of the city of Kupiansk, and their soldiers are massing near to Vovchansk. Elsewhere to the south, Ukraine says that the situation has significantly worsened in parts of southeastern Zaporizhia, with residents being evacuated from the town of Huliapoli. And the Russians also continue to bombard Kherson, the city which has just marked 3 years since its liberation from Moscow's forces. President Zelensky was visiting Kherson to mark the anniversary, meeting the injured in hospital. All smiles, but he knows his army is facing a difficult period on multiple fronts. As he handed out awards to soldiers and emergency service workers, the Ukrainians are struggling to recruit troops, and they are not helped by Washington's constant flip-flopping in its support for Ukraine. He said that they would increase their defences in Kherson and once again called for more support from Ukraine's allies.
The Russians have increased their striking power, using more ballistic weapons. This means we need stronger air defense, larger reserves of equipment, and even more coordinated and rapid work across the regions.
As the war grinds on, what chance of diplomacy? It's now 3 months since Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump met in Alaska, and the US cancelled a planned summit in Budapest because Moscow refused to budge on its hardline stance. There was speculation that the foreign minister Sergei Lavrov was blamed for the collapse and was now out of favour in the Kremlin. He emerged yesterday to dismiss any falling out and that he was ready to meet his American counterpart, Marco Rubio.
We are also ready to discuss with our American colleagues resumption of preparations for the summit of leaders of Russia and the US that they have initially proposed. If and when the American colleagues renew their proposal and are ready to start preparations for the high-level meeting so that it really bears fruit, Budapest will be a preferred location for us.
But Lavrov said that Russia would still not budge from its core demands, stating that the land it currently burns and occupies is now legally their territory. And so this conflict continues. In the Zaporizhia region, the Ukrainians speak of exhausting battles. The only ones left to evacuate now are the elderly, who despite being led to safety, can't bear to say goodbye. 84-year-old Polina says it had become impossible to go outside because of the drones flying overhead, that she couldn't even walk in her own backyard. The Russian advance may be painfully slow, but the pain it inflicts is evident as Ukraine prepares for another long and gruelling winter. I'm now joined by the Ukrainian MP Alexei Goncharenko. Alexei, what's your understanding at the moment of the situation in Pokrovsk?
It's a very difficult situation. Russia tries to take Pokrovsk by any cost. Still, Ukrainian forces are fighting. So Pokrovsk is not completely controlled by Russians, but the situation is extremely difficult.
The Russians are obviously trying to take the town. It's small, slow steps. But how big a deal would it be if Pokrovsk did fall?
For the moment, it would not be a big deal. In general, you need to understand Pokrovsk was long ago, before full-scale invasion, and even before this, was near 100,000 people, which makes it quite a town, but not a big city. And also we can't say that Pokrovsk has some super strategic place or something like this. But for us, any loss of Ukrainian territories and cities and towns and villages is painful. So it's painful, but it will not mean that Ukraine front line is falling apart or something like this. And don't forget that Russia is attacking Pokrovsk for more than 15 months at the moment. So 15 months to take the ruins of the town, where probably today is just several thousand people, maybe maximum, who are present, civilians. So in any way, that's not these big results which Putin announced to the world he would have during his so-called summer offensive.
So it's less a sort of a key hub or a key breakthrough, and this is more about Putin's obsession with this one town, which for him may mean a lot, but actually more broadly speaks to a stalemate that's happening.
Yeah, it's about Donbas area in general, which means a lot for Putin. But even this town, I don't think this exactly town means a lot for Putin himself. But he tries to take all Donbas, and Pokrovsk is now his aim. But the price which he is paying to take it is enormous. In any other country, if it would not be Russia, where human life is just zero, it's just, I mean, Russia lost tens of thousands of people.
It's not just in Pokrovsk, obviously. North, south, the Russians are pushing, and they're getting heavier in terms of their bombardment. What's happening on the Ukrainian side in terms of what you're seeing? You know, there's talk about a worsening shortage of soldiers. Obviously, you've had this flip-flopping from America when it comes to support for Ukraine. The shutdown reportedly has not helped. What's happening in terms of the Ukrainian side, and why this is becoming more of a struggle?
We are tired, we are exhausted, and we want this war to end as soon as possible. So it's clear. But we are not in the position, so Putin still hopes that some moment we will crack from inside. This will not happen. So with this pace of Russian advance, it will take hundreds of years for Russia to take Ukraine. And even for Russia, they don't have enough people to do this, even if they would invest all their population in this. So in reality, this is a stalemate. In reality, continuation of hostilities has no sense because we don't have advances, but their advances are very, very, very incremental and very small. So the best thing is to end this as soon as possible, and we will fight. We will continue to fight. We know what is the price, that Russia will commit genocide against Ukrainians if they would succeed. So we will continue to fight, but we want peace.
And when it comes to peace, what do you make of the fact that the Russians are saying that they are now willing to resume talks with Ukraine in Istanbul? Lavrov is saying he wants to meet with Rubio. Is any of that positive, or is that just the same old?
No, it's absolutely the same tune. Russia doesn't want peace for the moment. They want to win time. Putin still believes that he can achieve bigger goals. I don't know why. Nothing proves it, but it doesn't matter for him. So Russia doesn't want peace. So all they want is just to play games with Trump and trying to not to have sanctions against them, trying to stop flow of weapons to Ukraine. So they're not in the mood, in a real mood for real negotiation. In order for them to be in this mood, there should be much harder pressure against them, more sanctions, more weapons to Ukraine. It can be done. It's in the hands of President Trump.
And where do you think President Trump is now?
I hope after his hands are free, after the Middle East, we hope there is a peace now in Middle East. We hope it will be stable. I hope that President Trump will invest his efforts in order to achieve results here in Ukraine. From their side, European countries, United Kingdom, should finally make a decision about seizing of Russian frozen assets, increase military support to Ukraine, because that will show to Putin that he will not achieve his goals.
President Zelensky was talking the other day to The Guardian about how Europe is always too afraid to get tougher on Russia, always too afraid of worrying about some sort of escalation. Could the fall of somewhere like Pokrovsk, could some big event actually force Europe to finally do what you want them to do?
You know, we should be frank. Europe has changed a lot and Europe is doing a lot, but more can be done. I hope these last Russian provocations with drones, with fighters in the airspace of NATO countries, European countries, will push finally European countries to be more active and be more bold.
Things are currently in the hands of President Trump and what he might do next. What President Trump has done is obviously reach out to Vladimir Putin. I wonder if that's something which Europe should do, because Sauli Niinistö, the former president of Finland, has said that the EU should reach out to have talks with the Kremlin. And we've just had reports today that the British National Security Advisor, Jonathan Powell, tried to do something similar earlier in the year. Should official channels be opened between Europe and Russia to try and bring this war to an end?
If Europe wants to speak with Putin, and it's okay, but at first Europe should punch Putin hard. Only if they will do this, after this, these talks would mean something. Because Putin ignores Europe. Putin thinks that Europe is weak, is not strong. He humiliates Europe in reality. And unfortunately, when Europe is saying, we're giving you a deadline till tomorrow, you need to do something, and Putin is laughing in response, and nothing happens after this, that's not the way. It will lead us to nothing.
The government in Ukraine has just suspended the justice minister there because of an investigation into corruption in the energy sector. That's obviously not great for the public in terms of the rolling blackouts and potential corruption there. Also not great for Ukraine, which wants to, hopefully one day join the EU and NATO. How concerning is that news about what might be happening within Ukraine itself?
We have a big corruption scandal now inside Ukraine. That's true, but corruption scandals can happen everywhere. The thing is, what is the reaction? So we see that anti-corruptional structures are fighting. Civil society is supporting anti-corruptional bodies. Yes, there is a lot of questions, even to President Zelensky himself. But that's the way how it happens in the civilized world, the democratic world. It's not Russia, where it's just about does Putin like you or not.
Alexei Goncharenko, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.